What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo. The New York Giants have a massive need at the center position. Jon Feliciano has just left in free agency, departing to San Francisco. He's now signed a one-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers, and now the New York Giants technically have zero centers on their roster. Currently, we all know Nick Gates left earlier this offseason to sign with the Washington Commanders. Now Jon Feliciano leaving. Who is playing center for the New York Giants in 2023? They do have Ben Bredesen on their roster. He played left guard for the Giants last year. He could move back over to center. He played a little bit of that during his rookie season with the Baltimore Ravens. However, the Giants probably need to sign or draft some talent at this position before we get to the regular season. Now, if you didn't know, the Giants kind of ran out of cap space. They're down to about $800-something thousand. They're going to have to make some moves. If you haven't listened to our video or episode a few days ago talking about the Leonard Williams contract and the Adoree Jackson contracts, there's some ways that the Giants can make some cap space for themselves, but they're kind of at the situation where, and the Darren Waller contract, they just restructured that, but they're at a situation where they need to make a move and they need to make it soon because, first of all, they still need to add some talent through free agency. And second of all, when we get to the 2023 NFL draft, they have to have enough money set aside to sign those draft picks to their contracts. They're all going to carry their own various cap hits. So it's going to be really important. And I'm really curious to see what the Giants do to kind of patch this hole in the middle of their offensive line. We're going to go ahead and dive into that. Take a look at three centers that can be targeted in free agency or via trade for the Giants this offseason ahead of the draft, and really discuss like what they could mean for the Giants, what impact they could make. But I'm also going to take a look at three additional prospects, brief looks at some prospects in the 2023 NFL draft for you guys. We're going to dive into them much deeper later on the channel. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new and ring the bell so you don't miss whenever that episode gets uploaded. Again, diving into the center prospects and those interior offensive line prospects. But again, we're going to go ahead and dive into it. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoy and subscribe to the channel if you're new. But let's go ahead and talk about the first guy on the list, which is Ben Jones. He was recently released by the Tennessee Titans. Now, Ben Jones is 33 years old. By no means would he be a long-term solution for the New York Giants. If the Giants were to sign Ben Jones, he's currently a free agent, they would probably be signing him to a one-year deal. Now, again, they would be signing him to a one-year deal for a low cost as well, which is big time for the Giants. But the reason why might scare some of you away. And the reason why is because despite making the Pro Bowl in 2022, Ben Jones was cut by the Titans. He was with them for a very long time, and he was cut because of a failed physical designation. So how healthy is he? Is he still looking to play in the NFL? Can he play at a high level still, considering he was just cut for injury designation? I don't know. We will see, and that's going to be really curious if he does start to get some interest from some teams around the league and he does end up getting signed. I mean, is he healthy enough to be ready by week one? Now, the reason why he was cut for a failed physical designation, he did have two concussions during the 2022 season. So that's why I get a little questionable and say, does Ben Jones even plan on playing football in 2023? Again, he made the Pro Bowl last year. He only allowed one sack the entire season. And throughout the entirety of his career, he's been very durable. In 2022, he missed 5 games because of the pair of concussions that he had, but it was his first injury-plagued season of his career. He appeared in 160 of 161 possible regular season games from 2012 to 2021. So not a lot of injuries to speak about in Ben Jones's career. However, failed physical. What does that mean for his career? What does that mean for his future? I'm not sure. 33 years old. He's still an effective player, a really good Pro Bowl level center. He's literally coming off of a Pro Bowl season in which he only played in 12 games. I mean, think about how impressive that is. But considering he didn't pass his physical at the end of the season, the Titans had to move on from a veteran who's been there for a very long time. I'm not sure what his market's looking like right now, and I don't know if the Giants would really be willing to go out there and sign a guy like this who, again, coming off of an injury season, really old, and does have a massive question mark because anytime you see a player get cut because of a failed physical, that's definitely interesting, something to take note of, and something to be very cautious of. So let's go ahead and move on to the second guy that I want to discuss, and that is Conor McGovern. Now, he would basically be staying at home. He wouldn't have to move far. Conor McGovern, formerly of the New York Jets. He's a free agent right now. He's 29 years old. Pro Football Focus actually recently listed him as one player that the New York Jets can't afford to lose in free agency. However, they're making that run for Aaron Rodgers, so they've got a bunch of players left unsigned. They don't know what they're doing in terms of the offensive line. All they're focused on is getting Rodgers. So Conor McGovern still sitting on the open market right here. He does have a pretty hefty projected market value from Spotrac, but considering the fact that he has been sitting on the market for over a week now and hasn't been signed, that contract projection might not be too accurate. It might be coming down. He had a projected market value of $12.5 million on average annual salary, but I think that the Giants would probably be able to sign him for underneath $10 million. Conor McGovern, again, a very good player, but a solid veteran player. This also isn't one of those long-term options. 29 years old, but a player like this might be what the Giants need. He's logged around 1,000 snaps in 5 straight seasons. He has never played in less than 15 games in a season throughout his career. What you're getting out of a guy like Conor McGovern is a really high floor, a reliable player. No, he's not an all-pro. He's not a dominant center. This isn't like, oh, the Giants are transforming their offensive line overnight. But what they are doing is getting a guy who you know is going to be out there week by week, bring that continuity to your offensive line, and at least give you average to above play from the center position. And that's something that the Giants haven't really had, consistently average or better play for a very long time out of that position. So Conor McGovern, another player that I do have some interest in. I actually probably have more interest in him than Ben Jones. Ben Jones, such a good player, but failed physical designation on the release really does scare me. And I don't know exactly what that means for his NFL future. But Conor McGovern, he's a healthy guy. He's been a healthy guy for the last 5 years, and he's a damn good center. So if the Giants do make that move for Conor McGovern, I would definitely like it for the right price. Now, here's another guy that the Giants could look at, also 29 years old, a big-time veteran who's been to 3 Pro Bowls in his career, went to them back-to-back-to-back, 2019, 2020, and 2021, had a bit of a down year in 2022, and is now available for trade by the Indianapolis Colts. That's right, I'm talking about Ryan Kelly. Now, again, Ryan Kelly has been one of the best centers in the league for the past few years, but a down year in 2022. Now the Colts blowing everything up, restarting. Apparently, I have some interest in Lamar Jackson, which I think is actually really intriguing, but, another time we can discuss that. But right now, Ryan Kelly is available for trade. However, the Colts are also willing to release him before the start of the season if they cannot find a trade partner. So, again, let's say that the Colts, actually, it is a good time to bring it up. Let's say they make the run for Lamar Jackson. They're going to have to pay him a whole bunch of money. They're going to have to release Ryan Kelly in that scenario. So, this is a guy who, in my opinion, I don't think that the Giants necessarily need to be giving up draft capital for. I think there is a good chance he ends up getting released. And if he does, that's when the Giants should be interested, because when you look at Ryan Kelly's contract, it's a little bit bloated. He carries a salary cap hit of $12.4 million in 2023. And right now, considering the Giants just got Darren Waller, they just re-signed Daniel Jones, they just signed Bobby Okereke, they still have that massive Leonard Williams contract on the books and having a $32 million cap hit for Leonard Williams for the season. As I'm recording this video, we'll see if that changes. But carrying a cap hit of $12.4 million at the center position, far away from an ideal scenario. So I don't think that the Giants should realistically explore trading for Ryan Kelly. I mean, if you asked me a couple weeks ago, prior to the Darren Waller trade, prior to all these signings that the Giants made, yeah, I'd be open to the idea, but that $12.4 million cap hit would definitely be a huge hurdle to jump over. And I think that if the Giants are going to go after Ryan Kelly, the trade would have to include some sort of reworked contract in order for it to make sense, because that cap hit needs to be lowered. And also, so does his annual salary. I just think in general, a guy at his age, he's going to be 30 by the time the season starts. His play has already shown signs of decline. I don't think that the New York Giants should be going out here and trading away assets in the middle rounds for a guy like Ryan Kelly. There are some other ways that I would like to use those draft picks, those middle round picks. There's some players, some centers in particular, who, in my opinion, do make sense for the New York Giants. So before we wrap, I know in the bottom it says we're talking about the free agent and trade targets. Surprise, I'm also going to take it one step further. Let's talk about some of these draft prospects that really do make sense for the New York Giants. The first one that I want to talk about, you guys have heard me talk about this guy before. I brought him up a few times on the channel. It's John Michael Schmitz, center out of Minnesota. This is a high IQ player. This is a day one starter, in my opinion, but this is also a player who is likely to go early, probably early second round or late first round. Now, that does make him a fit for the New York Giants with the 25th overall pick, but if you take a look at his athletic testing, how refined he is as a player, is he a round one prospect? Probably not. However, one argument that you can make, the center position is probably the one position that requires the least amount of athleticism in the NFL. So they can probably get by with an unathletic but super technically refined and super strong center in John Michael Schmitz. He is going to be a very solid starter in the league, in my opinion. I think that he has everything that you need. He's nasty in the middle of the field, in the middle of the offensive line. Like, he's got that that energy that just makes you want to punch somebody. Like, he is one of those mean centers, and he's very, refined. Like, he does everything that you expect a center to do. Does he have elite athleticism? Is he going to blow you away? Probably not. But when you're looking at his career stats, he only allowed 2 sacks throughout the entirety of his collegiate career. They both came in 2022, but that was on 302 pass blocking snaps. That's a great rate right there. And he only let up 5 total hurries on the season. John Michael Schmitz, a super reliable player, also is nasty. I think I mentioned those stats as a pass blocker, but he's a nasty run blocker. He's arguably the best run blocking center in this draft class. I think he just has the highest floor. So that's why I really like John Michael Schmitz. Again, we'll dive much deeper into him and a few of these other prospects later on as we get closer to the draft. But a guy like John Michael Schmitz, you take him early because you know he's got a high floor. He's a day one starter. He might not ever reach, huge heights and be the best player in the NFL at his position. I don't think he'll do that, but he'll always be good, always be a solid player for whoever drafts him. So that's why I think that he'll probably end up being high on the Giants draft board, because I think that they're going to go ahead and look for guys with reliability. Now, a couple cons for him. He is 24 years old as a rookie. The scheme that he played in at Minnesota did hide a lot of his pass protection deficiencies. And again, he is a below average athlete for a center by NFL standards. However, he probably could play guard as well. He's got a versatile frame, and I think that he has, the functional strength to stand in a phone booth and punch you to crap playing that guard position. And I do think he has really solid hands and nice footwork. So he makes a lot of sense for a New York Giants team, in my opinion, that just needs reliability from the center position. One counter argument to make, though, is that if you take a look at the New York Giants draft history since Joe Schoen has been here, almost all of those picks, they had 9, 11 picks last year, however many it was. They had 2 less than however many they had. All of those guys that they drafted, for the most part, scored really highly in athletic testing. Now, a guy like John Michael Schmitz, who didn't do that, is a very average athlete for the center position. That means that he might not be looked at as highly by the Giants as he is by a guy like me, who likes his technical refinement and thinks that his high floor makes him worth drafting early on. So that's pretty much the whole spiel on John Michael Schmitz that I want to get into right now. Let's talk about another guy who's kind of been rising up draft boards. I saw him recently mocked to the Giants at the 25th overall pick. Now, I would be shocked if that was the case. If Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin was drafted in the first round, he seems to be a second-round prospect by most mock drafts. However, this is a player who has a very solid blend of size and athleticism, could be a real chess piece on your offensive line if you know how to scheme with a guy like that and get him pulling into space and everything like that. So he's really, really athletic at times on film. According to Pro Football Focus, they describe him as looking like a tight end. We love how quickly he gets to the second level. The Giants, they need more of those guys who can do that zone blocking stuff, get to the second level, allow Saquon Barkley to find open rushing lanes downfield rather than in the backfield, as most of the Giants offensive linemen over the past few years have given him, is a lot of rushing lanes in the backfield. So Joe Tippmann, just having the athleticism, get to the next level, be a pulling guard, that's kind of where he wins and kind of what would excite you about him. Some of his stats over his entire collegiate career, he only let up 1 sack. 1 sack in 2022. That's when it was. And he only let up 2 hits and 2 hurries. Again, playing for Wisconsin, the Badgers, he's a pretty good player. And right now his draft stock is really rising because he had a very good 2023 NFL scouting combine. And he really did turn a lot of heads over there. He is very tall for a center. He's 6'6", but that doesn't matter. Daniel Jones is tall, so who cares? But I just think his blend of size and athleticism, he probably could succeed at guard as well. Just, being like a pulling blocker, like I said. I like Tippmann's athleticism, and that might be why he fits in with the New York Giants so well, because when you look at what Joe Schoen is looking for in players, again, athleticism is one of those things I mentioned. But if you look at Brian Dable, Mike Kafka, there were a lot of moments last year where they did have their offensive lineman pull. Andrew Thomas was the guy that they like to pull a lot, but it's kind of hard to pull a tackle on a lot of rushing plays. So when you're trying to scheme together ways to get athletic offensive linemen out in front of your running back, Joe Tippmann fits the bill and might allow the Giants to really open up their offense a lot more in terms of their rushing scheme. Now, another player that I want to talk about is Luke Wypler out of Ohio State. This is a guy who's also risen up draft boards. He had a 4.53 short shuttle time and a 7.64 3-cone time, has some decent athleticism, and had a lot of change of direction skills in college. looked like another one of those pretty athletic guards. 6'3", 303 pounds, junior, New Jersey native. So I guess that's one of the selling points. If you really are feeling that Jersey connection to the New York Giants there, maybe he grew up a Giants fan. Who knows? Maybe he grew up a Jets fan. Maybe then we won't want him. Who knows? So one of the things that you really like about him, he has a lot of technicality. He's really technically refined with Luke Wypler. Again, playing at Ohio State, they've turned out a lot of solid offensive linemen in recent years. So you like Wypler's technical refinement and you like his athleticism. He's one of those players who also, in my opinion, does have a pretty high floor. However, you could argue that he does have a little bit of a strength issue and a little bit of an undersizing at the center position. And that might be something that the Giants look at and say, okay, if we're going to draft a guy like Luke Wypler, who maybe will struggle early on because of a lack of strength, we better at least sign a veteran center as well in free agency. And I do think that's a situation that the Giants want to explore regardless. If they plan on drafting a center, they should still end up getting a veteran who can play the position as well. But when you're looking at a player like Luke Wypler, he's got great athleticism. He's got good leverage. He's angry. He's a really, really good center that I think could make a lot of sense for the New York Giants. Again, only 1 sack and 7 hurries on 449 pass blocking snaps in 2022. Over the course of his season, he didn't allow any sacks with just 1 hit and 7 hurries surrendered on 516 pass blocking snaps, according to Pro Football Focus. So again, Wypler, good in pass pro, very athletic, could be a weapon for you in the rushing game. Maybe makes a lot of sense for the New York Giants in that facet as they try and pull some of these guards, interior offensive linemen, centers as well, into space and create some rushing lanes for Saquon Barkley while he sits pretty on his franchise tag, but hopefully gets extended. But we'll see what the Giants do. Again, I think that interior offensive line is a position that they will address during the draft. However, Ben Bredesen's still on the team. Maybe he starts the season out at center, or maybe they still find a way to make some money, go out there and get a low-cost veteran in the coming weeks. I'm not sure, but we will definitely be keeping you updated on the Giants search for their next center right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Please leave a like if you did enjoy this episode and comment your thoughts on these players down below. I will catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.